SCP-004, the 12 Rusty Keys and the Door. SCP-004 consists of an old wooden barn door, SCP-004-1, and a set of 12 rusted keys, SCP-004-2 through SCP-004-13. The door itself is the entrance to an abandoned factory in Data Expunged. Chronological history. A group of 3 juveniles trespassing on federal property near blank find the door. According to their testimony, they found a set of rusted keys in an iron lockbox and determined what door the keys would unlock. The juveniles are taken into custody after they contact Sheriff Blank, when one of their friends, SCP-004, Case 01, goes missing. Next date. Local authorities find the severed right hand of SCP-004 Case 1, 8 km from SCP-004-1. Other parts of SCP-004 Case 1's body are found scattered as far as 32 km from the factory. Under interrogation, the apprehended juveniles tell the authorities that upon opening the door with one of the keys, SCP-004 Case 1 was torn into several pieces, each of which disappeared. At this point, the SCP Foundation takes over the investigation. Next date. SCP Agent Blank obtains the keys from local authorities to begin testing. Tests show that SCP-004-2 through SCP-004-13 all fit into a single lock on the large barred door. 12 Class D personnel are assigned to test the effects of the door. Of the 12 test subjects, each trying a different key to enter the room, only 2 survive. Opening the door with any key except SCP-004-7 or SCP-004-12 causes the test subject to be torn apart in multiple directions. However, no dismembered parts were found until later. At the time of writing, only 2 parts of each subject had been recovered, with the exception of the subject using SCP-004-blank, whose pieces were scattered in close proximity. The others have for all intents and purposes vanished from existence. Of the surviving 2 subjects, only one, having used SCP-004-7, returned unharmed. The others came back in a near catatonic state, only able to remove himself from the room and then collapse on the floor, and had to be restrained to prevent him from gouging his eyes out. See Appendix A, Mental Health Effects of SCP-004. The subject using SCP-007 said that he had entered a large room, impossibly big for the size of the attached building. After his exit, SCP-004-1 was propped up, and an armed squad of Level 3 personnel entered. The size of the room is impossible to measure, and the doorframe and the individuals in the room are only a part of the room that can be felt or illuminated. Next date. The juvenile suspects and Sheriff Blank are terminated. Next date. Blank is declared a hazardous area due to unexplored ordnance, and fences erected in order to prevent civilian ingress. Tests to determine safety of exposure to environment behind SCP-004-1 begin. Next date. Space-time anomalies resulting in exposure from SCP-004 are confirmed. Testing is suspended until further notice. Next date. The accounted-for remains of SCP-004 Case 1 appear unexpectedly outside SCP-004-1. Despite being killed decades before, the remains of SCP-004 Case 01 are not decomposed in any manner and are still warm to the touch. Blood remains uncoagulated. The remains are remanded for testing. The unaccounted-for remains of one of the 12 original test subjects appear in similar manner to those of SCP-004 Case 1. The remains have been designated SCP-004 Case 2. Records suggest that both SCP-004 Case 1 and Case 2 used SCP-004-blank. Next date. With the massive proliferation of nuclear weapons and World War III only blank years away, construction has begun on a site inside SCP-004-1. The site is to stock supplies for blank person days. Next date. Blank has ordered the site inside SCP-004-1 to be expanded to include emergency storage for all mobile SCP-blank specimens, and a blank petabyte database for the storage of all SCP data. The facility is now referred to as Site-62. Site-62 is operational. Labs and containment units are complete and can contain the most dangerous specimens. Backup of an SCP database has begun. Next date. Due to time anomalies, see space-time anomalies below. All personnel working at Site-62 are now required to reside on-site permanently. Families of personnel are to be informed that loved ones perished in an industrial accident. Cloned bodies have been prepared for the funeral. Next date. Massive power outages across the northeast United States and through Canada. Due to the initial failure of multiple SCP generators, Site-62 was without power for 53 minutes. During those 53 minutes, those on site were completely without any source of light. They reported sensing creatures and people, although no abnormal entities could be seen or felt. Selected facility personnel were allowed to read blank Appendix A, and said that the creatures sensed were of humanoid size, but were otherwise similar to the massive green creature described. Space-time anomalies. SCP-004 seems to propagate spatial-temporal anomalies. Personnel leaving the facility report losing time. Those who have been in the site for weeks insist they have only been there for several days, and records of work completed and supplies consumed support their claims. Other temporal anomalies involve SCP-004 through 12, especially the reappearance of SCP-004 Case 1 and SCP-004 Case 2, exactly blank years after SCP-004 blank. Blank has been assigned to investigate all aspects of these time anomalies. Spatial anomalies include the impossibly large dimensions of the area opened by SCP-004-7. Similarly, the 2003 blackout incident suggests that there exists an alternate plane of existence within the same space that Site-62 occupies. Additional notes. Testing on SCP-004 reveals that 10 of the keys open SCP-004-1 on our dimension, where the laws of physics and topology are significantly different than those of our home dimension. Test subjects meeting these hostile conditions are torn apart, their body parts deposited in various locations, only 3 of which have been verified to be on Earth. Material deposited at 2 of these locations appears immediately. Material deposited at the 3rd appears exactly blank years into the future. The other 7 locations are currently unknown. Current testing focuses on 2 avenues of research. The first is finding ways to survive SCP-004's hostile topologies. The second, data expunge, suggests that SCP-004-2 through 13 may open doors other than SCP-004-1. Appendix A. Mental health effects of SCP-004-12. All Class D personnel using SCP-004-12 return in a catatonic state, unable to speak. Some may have survived enough energy to try and claw out their eyes. Of the 16 subjects, only 4 have survived. Only 1 has regained speech following long-term psychotherapy. He was able to tell the psychiatrist that he saw a massive green creature, so large that much of its body extended beyond his field of view. He reported innate fear and sudden recognition, as if it was something buried deep in his primal fears. Enforced implementation of incomprehensible memories. Subjects display acute, anterograde, and retrograde amnesia. Appendix B. Additional information. Item. SCP-004-14. Origin of object. Object was discovered somewhere else in the factory area, in the previously undiscovered manager's office. Description. The object appears as a large, unvarnished wooden box. The box may be unlocked by the safe key, SCP-004-7, as well as 5 of the unsafe keys. See document SCP-004-1. Upon unlocking SCP-004-14 with SCP-004-7, the box opens automatically on hinges. The volume of the space inside is precisely 5 times greater than the outside dimensions imply. Items placed while within the lid remains open do not affect the weight or any other properties of the box. When the lid is closed and locked, however, all items inside vanish irrevertibly. Personnel locked inside the box are also irrevertible, although losing personnel in this fashion appears to affect significantly the dreams experienced by data expunge.